alternative to the empire.
Alex, you mentioned the big, beautiful bill that Donald Trump is talking about and he wants to be passed. But what's in it that he's willing to sacrifice someone like Elon Musk and he's to gain it? What is the main difference when it comes to the way that Donald Trump is trying to deal with Elon Musk? And I don't see I was so much curious, why does he need to do this to Elon Musk? Elon Musk tried to help him and he helped him to win the presidential election. And I don't know what he's gaining by this bill that is worth even more than what Elon Musk did. We know that Elon Musk sent his spacecraft to bring the astronauts back home in the United States. It was huge the way that Elon Musk was somehow cooperating with him, and it could be beneficial for the movement in the United States that has begun MAGA and the people that supported Donald Trump. But it seems that as time goes by, the divisions are happening within the MAGA. Your take on that?
It definitely seems that way, Nima. But I've read interpretations that suspect that the whole spat between Trump and Musk is another fake, World Wrestling Federation type of a fight, and that they are maybe at some level working in agreement with one another. You're right. Elon Musk has helped Donald Trump's election campaign enormously. Elon Musk still is in control of certain very important businesses, SpaceX, X, the former Twitter, which is today maybe one of the most powerful media companies in the world. So alienating Elon Musk doesn't really make sense. Now, there is an ideological disagreement there on, piling debt on top of more debt on top of more debt, worsening the government deficits, the budget deficits that the big beautiful bill might cause. I say might. It probably will, but the Republicans loyal to Donald Trump are saying no. It will actually reduce deficits. I think that's very unlikely. But it's the whole system needs a thorough reform. The government deficits and public debt have been growing on an exponential scale for decades now. It's very systemic. It didn't matter whether the government in power was a Democratic government or a Republican government. It didn't matter if the candidates promised to, balance the books, pay down the debts, reduce deficits, and all this. It just simply doesn't happen. It never happens. It cannot happen because for as long as you have this monetary system under which we all operate, the fiat currency with fractional reserve lending system, the government will always have to step into the economics equation, and its role in the economy will always have to grow exponentially. Take Great Britain, the mothership of free market capitalism. Today in Great Britain, British government accounts for more than 50% of the GDP. France, another free market capitalist economy, it's almost 60%, if not more by now. In the United States, the same trends. It's not because somebody decides, hey, let's do that. It's because they have to. It's because it's systemic. And I don't want to get into the explanation of this because it's a little bit convoluted, but I did publish an article on my Substack just a few days ago explaining the exact causes of why this is the case, and why the whole thing about the debts and the debt ceilings and all this is kabuki theater. It doesn't matter. It only goes like this, and it goes like this in every single country that operates under this monetary system, which is pretty much every country in the world. So if you look at Italian debts, British, German, French, American, Canadian, Japanese, whatever you want, you always get the exact same symptoms. And it's not down to the politicians. It's down to the monetary system, the way it's set out. So you might have people who are at heart conservatives, who want to see balanced budgets, no debt, small government that doesn't get that doesn't interfere in the economic game and doesn't get into people's lives. And they may want this very sincerely, but it just cannot be done within this monetary system. And I think that that in this sense, Elon Musk might, as a businessman, he might sincerely have a problem with the big beautiful bill. Trump, on the other hand, has been client to the banks all his life. He has piled debt on top of debt. He has gone bankrupt multiple times, but he hasn't done it in a stupid way. He has done it. He has basically used the legal provisions where you take on a lot of debt, you pay yourself all this money, and then if things don't go exactly as you planned, you declare bankruptcy. The enterprise fails, but you didn't come out poorer for it. In fact, you're just getting richer. A lot of people do this. That's how the system is designed. And so maybe from that point of view, he doesn't have a problem with piling more debt on top of debt that's already in the system. And maybe he understands that the whole, let's put it this way, it has been clear from the get-go, probably from 1913 when the Federal Reserve was created, that the dollar was ultimately going to fail. Because if you have this fiat money system with fractional reserve banking, the currency is going to fail 100%. It's a mathematical certainty. It's baked into the system. So once you understand that, then you understand that the system is not sustainable. And going with conservative government policy isn't going to save it. It might push the ultimate collapse a bit farther away, but it's never going to save the system. So if you're in charge, if you're in control, you might think, let's accelerate this, let's push it across the ledge sooner, because we need to reform the system anyway. And we're not going to be able to reform it voluntarily. There's too many vested interests in there. They're never going to allow it. So let the system collapse, push it over. And, is Trump doing this? I don't know. He's not saying it, but I know that there are people sophisticated enough around him, like, well, we're supposed to think that he and Jerome Powell hate each other, but I don't know that that's true. There's Jerome Powell. There's Scott Bessent. There are other people in the government who are sophisticated enough to understand everything that I just told you and more. And they may know that the system needs to be reformed, but completely. There needs to be a complete overhaul of the monetary system. So the one we have today cannot be saved. There's no way to save it. So maybe you have a choice, like, do we want to be really conservative and give this system a lease of life of a few years longer? Or do we want to put it out of its misery, push it over the edge and let it collapse? And then we push our reforms on top of the ruins of the old system. I don't know. But we'll, as with all things Trump, we're only going to know with time.
Alex, we had the BRIC summit here in Brazil, and they tried to somehow deal with the situation that the United States was causing with Iran and Russia. They condemned that, the attacks on Russia and Iran. Do you feel that the way that BRICS is dealing with the geopolitical issues is somehow changing? Are they trying to assume more responsibility for what's going on the world stage, on the fight between the East and the West?
Well, I think that they all understand that what happened to Iran and what happened to Russia can happen to them tomorrow, and they're rightfully nervous about that. And so I think that A, it's normal that they want to condemn it, and B, they want to take a more assertive role in global geopolitics in order to make sure that that doesn't happen to them. We see that the former colonial power, like particularly France and Great Britain, are now almost openly trying to reassert their colonial power over their, former colonial possessions across Africa, the Middle East, and elsewhere in Asia and South America. And so I think that the leaderships of those countries who perhaps want to see their nations better developed, less vulnerable in terms of security, of course they want to close ranks and push back against these pressures. With regards to the United States, as any country, I think it's not correct to look at the United States as a monolith, because there are forces on the American political spectrum that don't want to be an empire. They want to be in good relations with other countries around the world, and they want to trade on a more equitable basis. But of course, there are those powers in the United States that do want to be the global empire and impose their diktat on everybody else. And so I think that the way to deal with these competing forces is not to condemn the United States as a nation, but to, let's say, empower those who want to be on friendly terms with the rest of the world, and try to disempower those who are on the opposite side. So, as you know, the statement that they issued wasn't especially strong, and I think that the Iranians were a little bit disappointed with this as well. But I think that if you antagonize the whole nation, if you take the whole nation and say, like, you're bad, you're wrong, you've done these bad things to us, then you also disempower the people who might be your friends and partners in the future, and you empower, like, you push against something, you get reaction. So I think that a softer statement maybe was the wise choice. And if we go back to the statement of Sergei Karaganov from a few months ago, he said it, and I think that this was a very good statement. He said that